The world of GPS running watches has definitely become a competitive one, that is for sure, and there is lots of brands out there competing for that small space on a runner's wrist with their latest bit of shiny technology. Without a doubt, GPS watch innovation has gone through the roof of late, and it doesn't seem that long ago when we were running around with those big, heavy, bulky units on our wrist. You remember the ones like those old sort of brick-like rectangular Garmin Forerunners. You know, they were massive, but at the time, that was the latest technology and it kind of blew my mind. But times have definitely moved on and we're seeing a lot of really smart new tech now when we look at the GPS running watch market. So in today's video, we are taking a close look at two new units from relatively newcomers to the GPS running watch market, Coros. So let's dive into the video and give you a bit more information about their new Apex Pro 2 and its slightly smaller brother, the Apex 2. Welcome back, folks. I'm Lloyd Purvis and you are watching Run4Adventure. Thanks for joining us for another video, and today we are talking about a couple of new pieces of shiny running tech. Now, I'm sure it's going to sort of spark off that big GPS running watch debate that we all love. Which is better, Coros or Garmin? Now, I don't think we're going to answer that question in this video because at the end of the day, it comes down to personal preference. But what I can say is I've had an Apex Pro now on my wrist for about a year and I am very happy with how this watch has performed and I haven't got any complaints. Now, I've had the Apex Pro 2 and the Apex 2 for a good few months now and we have given both watches a thorough testing. I have to say it, I've been impressed with the updates made to both units, but first up, we're going to sort of break down in a bit more detail all the functions, all the features you get with the Apex Pro 2 because it's the watch I know best, having had one for a year now. And then we're going to take a deeper dive into the Apex 2 as well because this was the first time that I'd ever used this model of watch. Then we're going to compare the two units together, and to be honest, once we get into this video, you'll see that a lot of the functions and features actually cross over to both watches. And then we're going to talk about maybe which model would suit a particular runner the best. And then finally, we're going to answer that all-important question of if you've got the current Apex Pro on your wrist, is it worth splashing the cash on the latest model? Firstly, if I just pop off my Apex Pro and then I'm going to hold the two watches up close to the screen there, and you can see that visually they are very, very similar watches still, and it just so happens that I've got the same screensaver on there as well. And I've always run my Apex Pro with the nylon strap. It came with a silicone strap, but I just prefer the comfort of the nylon one. And now the Apex Pro 2 and the Apex 2 comes with their new nylon strap, but they might look very similar. But when you start diving into the updates that Coros have made, there's definitely been some big improvements when it comes to performance with this new unit. The actual construction of the watch still utilizes that sapphire glass screen and a grade 5 titanium alloy bezel just to protect all those electrical components inside, but you now also get a PVD coating on that bezel, which actually gives you twice the scratch resistance of the previous version. With the bulk of the watch being constructed from that titanium alloy, it makes the Apex Pro 2 extremely lightweight. So it weighs in at a crazy 52 grams, and you can hardly tell that you've got a watch on your wrist. Next up, we're going to talk all about battery life, and now if you're familiar with the Coros brand, you'll know that this is what they've kind of become really well known for, and if you've ever used one of their watches, you'll know exactly what I mean. And it is very impressive how much battery life they get out of a obviously very small battery that sits inside their compact units. I really don't have to charge my Apex Pro that often at all, and the only downside to that is I can quite often misplace my charging lead because I just don't need it that much. However, Coros clearly weren't happy with the 45 hours of battery life on full GPS you've got in the Apex Pro because they've upped it in the new unit by 80%. So you now get a mind-blowing 75 hours of battery life on full GPS in this unit, and you can go from 0 to fully charged in under 2 hours. And you've got to agree with me, that is impressive stats indeed. GPS accuracy has also got a big update this time round, so you now get a 50% higher performing antenna, all satellite GNSS chipset that receives signal from the 5 major satellite systems for more precise data. You've also got dual frequency on the Apex Pro 2. Unfortunately, you don't get it on the slightly smaller Apex 2, and that's one of the major differences between the two units. So with that dual frequency, it should really help when it comes to your tracking when you're running through a sort of dense woodland or through the middle of a busy city. The navigational experience has been enhanced on the latest version as well, with free global offline landscape and topo maps. You can also access critical navigation information in the most remote of locations, and using this digital dial on the side of the unit, it's very easy to zoom in and out of those maps to take a closer look, or you can use the touch screen on the front to drag through those maps with your fingers. As far as navigating yourself around the watch, it's pretty much identical to the previous version. Very straightforward, very easy to do. From the home screen there, scroll on that side digital dial, and that opens up all your data fields. So you can have a quick look at calories burned, exercise duration, steps, floors, and so on. Lots of useful information there, all nice and colourful as well. So it makes it really easy to absorb all that data. The top button on the bezel there is a light. So if you press that, it's going to light up those data fields if you're out there training at night, or you can set the watch up in its specific nighttime mode. And then if you hold down that bottom button on the bezel, that's going to open up your little menu there. Lots of different features worked into there, from navigation, maps. We've also got stopwatch, alarm, all those sort of usual GPS watch features, but there's also some pretty interesting stuff in there as well. So if, like me, you're a filmmaker on the move and you use a GoPro or an Insta360 camera, you can control that camera using the watch on your wrist, which quite an unusual feature, but it's built in there. We've also got a compass and an HRV test, but there's also something called an oximeter, which is a really handy feature to have on your watch if you take part in any high altitude sport. Other handy functions built into the watch, especially if you're going to be running or trekking off into the wilderness. So we've got nutrition alarm, we've got storm alerts, we've also got sun movements and nighttime mode. All great things to have in your GPS device if you're kind of going off grid, just to give you a sort of peace of mind when it comes to your own safety. Coros have also worked in their next generation optical heart rate sensor, and this is going to be their most accurate to date. And you can see it's a 5 LED system there with 4 photo detectors in a customized layout, and that's all protected with this very smooth scratch resistant cover. This should provide the most accurate heart rate monitoring to date, and I've got to say it has been very good so far, especially for a wrist sensor. And I would personally say an improvement on the previous version, although I thought the accuracy of the heart rate on this unit was pretty good. With a quick press on that digital dial on the side of the watch, it opens up a menu, and it's got pretty much every type of sporting or exercise pastime you can think of. So we've got running, obviously, we've got indoor running, trail running, we've got a designated track feature, hiking, walking, we've got biking indoors and outdoors, pool swim, open water swim, but then we've got some more obscure stuff as well. So speed surfing, windsurfing, we've also got white water and flat water, and they've even put a jump rope feature in there. So I think Coros have pretty much thought of everything. But while you're in that menu screen, you can also look at workouts or training plans that you've uploaded onto the unit, or you could go back and have a look at your training history, which are really handy things to have at your fingertips. So you could have a look at a specific training session and you could analyze all the data. So things like maximum heart rate, distance, elevation, calories burned, or even things like cadence, time splits, and heart rate zones. So all really useful stuff. As far as when it comes to setting your new device up, well, like all the Coros watches that I've used or tested on the channel, it couldn't be any more easier to do. So the watch will arrive in a box like this, literally slide off that top, open it up. In the top sleeve, you've got like a quick setup guide and all your guarantees and information on the watch. Grab the watch out of the box. It should come with a level of battery charge in it, and then press one of the buttons and it will spring to life. you just need to follow the on-screen instructions. So you'll have to set up things like the language you're going to use, which wrist you're going to wear your watch on, but eventually you'll get a QR code come up on the screen. So grab your mobile phone, go along to an app store and download the brilliant Coros app. Once you've got it, open it up and click on the little watch icon and then click on Add New Device. All you need to do then is scan that QR code that comes up on the screen and your watch and your phone will be paired in seconds. So you are ready to run. So grab your new device and get out on the trails or the road. So it really couldn't be any more straightforward. So you can see there's been quite a few updates made to the new Apex Pro. So even though it doesn't look very different to the previous version, we've got lots of new systems, enhancements to those sensors, and obviously the improvements to the all-important battery life and navigation. So moving on to the new and updated Apex 2, and it's a very similar story there. Firstly, a lot of the buttons, the functions and the features cross over between the two units, so you get a lot of the same stuff on this unit that you get on the Apex Pro 2. So we got that digital dial in the center that makes it very easy to navigate your way around the watch, even if you're out on a run and you're wearing thick gloves. We got that same button set up on the bezel there. So the top one will activate the light if you're running or training at night. And again, if you hold down the bottom button, it opens up that menu of functions, exactly the same as the Apex Pro 2. So if I read through them, stopwatch, timer, alarm, watch face, night mode, settings, music. So you can have music on both watches and listen to it via a pair of Bluetooth headphones. We got that camera mode, Wi-Fi sync, find phone, compass. We've got broadcast HR, we've got oximeter, we've got the HRV test, battery usage, metronome, and we've got Ultramax, navigation maps, and we got map settings, and then satellite signal, and we are back to the beginning. The same as before, again with that digital dial. If you give it a quick press, it will open up that same extremely long menu of exercises or sports. Again, exactly the same that you get on the Pro 2. So really the biggest difference between the two watches is obviously the size. So the Apex 2 comes in at 42mm, whereas its big brother, the Apex Pro 2, is 46mm. Obviously, that gives this watch a slightly bigger screen, and I personally prefer that. I think it is a little bit easier to see those data fields, especially if you're trying to take in that information while you're running at speed. Battery life differs between the two watches. So like we've already mentioned, you get that crazy 75 hours with the Pro 2, whereas the Apex 2, it has been improved and you still get a pretty impressive 45 hours of battery life in full GPS. And I have no idea how they get that kind of battery performance in a unit this small, because you can see it's definitely a compact watch, that's for sure. And last but not least, there's obviously price. So the new Apex 2 retails now for £399 here in the UK, whereas the Apex Pro 2 is £499. So £100 difference between the two units, which is quite a lot of money when you think a lot of the functions and features actually cross over between the two watches. Obviously, the Apex Pro 2, you get that much longer battery life, you've got a bigger watch with a bigger screen, and you get that dual frequency technology, which gives you better tracking in built up areas. But if you don't need all of that, then that £100 saving is a pretty good deal with the Apex 2. I've actually been really impressed with both the updates, and I can't believe how much crazy tech Coros have managed to fit in these two super compact, lightweight GPS running watches. But I suppose the question is if you're in the market for a new GPS running device, is the Apex Pro 2 or the Apex 2 worth your hard-earned cash? So let's wrap this review up with a conclusion. Okay, so let's start with all the things I've liked about the two updated units first. And firstly, I love the fact that you can have so much information on your wrist at your fingertips while you're out there running or training. The fact you can set up 6 pages, you can have 8 data fields on each page. That is a lot of information to choose from. And we've got things like actual time, total time, time of day, time to sunset, lap time, distance, elevation, elevation gain, elevation information lost, pace, lap pace, average pace, max heart rate, average heart rate, and cadence. So you can see where I'm going with this. I can literally sit here for ages going through all the information that can be gathered on this compact watch while you're out there running or training. Speaking of compact, I actually really like the size of the two units. Recently, I tested out the new Vertix from Coros, and it was a lovely watch, looked great on the wrist, packed full of features, crazy battery life, not too dissimilar to this, but I did find it was a bit big and a bit bulky. It was very thick, and I kept sort of banging it into things. So I do prefer the sleeker profile of the Apex Pro 2. I think it just works better for my lifestyle. Obviously, if this is too big, then you have the even smaller and more compact Apex 2, still crammed full of all those features. But for me personally, I think the Apex Pro 2 is just the right size. It gives you that slightly bigger screen, so it is definitely a little bit easier to see all the data. Loving the newly designed nylon strap. I was a big fan of the old one on my original Apex Pro, but definitely big improvements made here. A lot more pliable, a lot softer, so it sits nicely on the wrist, and I would find it very hard to go back to the more sort of traditional silicone band. The fact that Coros have updated that heart rate sensor, definitely noticed the difference, and it's got to be one of the most accurate wrist heart rate sensors that I've ever used. Obviously, with an enhancement to the maps and the navigation, it can only be a good thing. But I think the biggest improvement is how easy it is to put a GPX file on this watch now. Back in the day, it did used to be a bit of a chore to get a GPX file on a Coros watch, and it was almost like trying to sort of decipher the Da Vinci Code, whereas now, couldn't be any easier. So get that GPX file on your watch, cross it over into the Coros app, put it into the routes on that app, sync it to the watch, and it's there, it's done. You're ready to run that route. I mean, it really couldn't be any more straightforward, and this is how easy it should have always been. I actually used the navigation mode in the recent arc of attrition, so I got the GPX of the route, got it on the watch, and yeah, okay, I only ran 53 miles using the navigation and not 100, but it was great to have it there. Even though I know that route like the back of my hand, it was nice to have that map and the little arrow showing me the way, especially at night time. But the thing that really blew my mind was when I pulled out of the race at 53 miles, I checked my watch and I still had 80% battery life left. So that's hours and hours of running, full GPS and navigation on, and I only used 20% of the power. So I'd say if you're in the market for a new GPS running watch and you want some good navigational features, you want a long battery life, but you don't necessarily want to wear a big, bulky, chunky running watch like a Garmin Fenix or Coros's Vertix, then the Apex Pro 2 is definitely worth a closer look. Super comfortable, very light on the wrist, but again, packed full of all those features, all those functions, all the ability to gather all that data that a runner could ever possibly need, whether you're running park run every Saturday or you're taking on challenging mountain races like UTMB. Obviously, if the unit's still a bit too big for you, or you've just got a very small wrist, then you have the Apex 2. Still a great running GPS watch with that really impressive 45 hours battery life, and a lot of the same functions carry across from that Apex Pro 2. And I almost forgot to mention it, the brilliant Coros app. So I've been a big fan of this from day one, and I just love the fact that it's so simple to navigate through when you compare it to some of the other GPS watch apps out there. It's nice and bright, it's nice and colourful. It makes it enjoyable to go on there and sort of troll through all that data, and it literally analyses everything I could possibly need when it comes to my training or racing. So I suppose all that's left is to answer that question of, is it worth updating your current Apex or Apex Pro to one of the two new units? And I would have to say it definitely is, because I've been really impressed with the updates, the changes to the system, the updates to the sensors, and I think it's actually made an already very good GPS running watch even better. So I think I'm going to have to be raiding my piggy bank to get hold of the new Apex Pro 2, because at the end of the day, if it's good enough for Killian, it's good enough for me. There you go, folks, another running tech review crushed at Run4Adventure. Really hope you enjoyed it, really hope you found it helpful. Like anything when it comes to running, it's super personal when it comes to the GPS watch that we're going to wear on our wrist while we're running. So I don't think we're going to answer that big debate of which brand is better, Coros or Garmin. but it'd be great to hear from you guys. So get in the comment below, which brand do you prefer? Is it Coros? Is it Garmin? And let us know why. We've got a plethora of first impressions, first run videos heading your way with some wicked trail running shoes, so keep your eyes peeled for those. But for now guys, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting the channel, it is really appreciated. If you have enjoyed this video, you know what to do, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Only takes a second to do and it is completely free, doesn't cost you a penny, but it is a massive help to the channel. We'll be back here very, very soon, and as always, stay safe and keep on running. Makes the watches look even similar, but yeah, very similar in look. I've always run the nylon strap on my... Just so happens that I've always run mine with that nylon strap. So the old... Obviously, Coros were not happy with the 45 hours of burn time that you've got. Burn time? It's not a head torch. Don't put it on your head, do you? Battery life, not burn time.